Prices continue to climb. The dream of owning a home is fast fading for many Aussies. But what if all the money people have locked away in super could be used to get them into their first home?
Until the mid-90s, an average house in an average suburb cost 3 times the average annual income. The average first home buyer was 25 and could afford to pay their mortgage off with one wage. But 20 years later, we live in a different world, where getting into a place is more expensive and more competitive than ever before.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's life.
It's definitely becoming unaffordable.
I think the younger generation is going to definitely find it difficult, and if they're not already.
Unless you've got like 600-700 grand, there's no way you're going to get it.
In 2014, the average house costs 9 times the average annual income, and the age of the average first home buyer has jumped to 34. It's a story that 29-year-old Sydney-sider Rochelle knows all too well.
We've been saving for about a year and a half, and we've bid at about 4 or 5 auctions and been to over 20 house inspections and still no luck. I'm super frustrated. It shouldn't be this hard to find your first home.
Rochelle's story isn't unique. In the month of August, first home buyers accounted for just 11.8% of approved home loans, the lowest level since records began. And now a growing chorus of people, including independent Senator Nick Xenophon, are asking, why are Aussies being forced to save for their retirement before they've had a chance to buy their first home? Zeno wants the compulsory 9.5% of every working Aussie's wage that gets locked away in superannuation to be made available to first home buyers.
Obviously a good idea to have it there in the long run, but if you can use it for that first home deposit, great idea.
I think that is one of the best ideas I've heard ever.
But not everyone agrees it's the right way to go.
If people access superannuation for their housing, we push prices even higher, and the higher the house prices go, the harder it is for future home buyers to buy their first house. So it just merely inflates this housing bubble that we're already trying to grapple with.
With home ownership fast becoming an impossible dream for more and more Aussies, is opening up people's super savings the solution we sorely need?
Well, Senator Nick Xenophon joins us now. Nick, talk us through this. How would your idea work?
Well, the idea would work that if you can tap into your super for a deposit and pay it back within 15 years, similar to the Canadian scheme but with some modifications, it means that a lot of Australians who can't afford to get into that first home will be able to by virtue of accessing their super, provided it's paid back with any capital gain.
Is there a cap on it? Can you borrow as much as you want? Or?
No, it needs to be just for the deposit, and we're talking a maximum of 10%, and in the order of $30,000 or $40,000 as an absolute maximum, but it's enough to get people into the housing market, and it is a housing affordability crisis, and I think done properly, this can work.
Senator, I just think you're trying to break up something that is not broken. I mean, superannuation was designed to get people to be able to retire under their own steam, not rely on government. You start fiddling with it, you're going to have a whole lot of cowboys that get into the industry. I can see so many problems with this.
OK, a couple of issues there. Firstly, in terms of super, of course it's there for retirement, but one of the best forms of super you can have, in a sense, is to own your own home by the time you retire. You need to have strict controls and safeguards on it. It's not the solution. All I'm suggesting is that we need to have a discussion as a nation about housing affordability, and super, very carefully targeted, could be part of the solution. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole generation of Australians who can't get into housing to own their own home, and I think that's quite tragic.
Senator Xenophon, is this a knee-jerk reaction to last night's disaster on the block?
I don't know. The last
Nick
TV I watched was
as a block watcher.
He only watches Channel 10, Pete.
The last TV I watched was NYPD Blue, and that was a few years ago.
It was a great Channel 10 show, that one.
Senator, regardless of the merits of the proposal, let's just talk about the politics of this thing. Neither party is going to support it, are they? Do you have the numbers?
I'm not so sure. I've had coalition MPs that have spoken to me about this who've expressed some interest, and I think there's an acknowledgement across the board we need to do something about the housing market and affordability and young people getting into the housing market. So I'm not sure where this will end up, but if at the end of the day we have more affordable housing, more Australians owning their own home, I reckon that's a pretty good outcome.
We do need to do something. It's been a long while since we've had this much feedback on one topic. A lot of people for it and a lot of people are against. Nick, certainly got people chatting. Thanks for your time.
All the best.